Got any jokes? Got any jokes?
Depot on the beat.
Yo, what's good with the business? Is your boy DT3 Boom Beezy, man. You're here with your boy MMA Best Surgeon. We back at you with the comeback cannon. Episode 4. What to do with the folk? What's up, Serge? What's popping with you?
It's good to be here. It's good to be here.
Another week in this MMA business, man. A lot has been going on, man. We got some fights coming on this week. Got a lot of fights coming up. Got a fight coming up next week, man. We got some shit to talk about, Serge, man. You know what I'm saying? What we got going on first off? Let's get on. We're gonna first off with this ONE FC. We got Allen against Kane in ONE FC this past weekend, and I'm really not liking what I'm seeing from OG Allen. I understand that he's strong. He's an OG dude. He's been fighting for a long time at this point. He's been doing martial arts his whole life. He's a four-time kickboxing champion and a four-time Muay Thai champion. So I understand, what I'm saying, he got a lot of skills and all that behind him. But I think these big, strong, heavyweight guys, man, is just too much for him. I think he needs to just focus on teaching at this particular time in his career. I don't see him really being too much, except probably a cash cow or probably like the dude that you fight to get the belt. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Not a guy that you fight for a title. I haven't really seen him really do anything high caliber in ONE FC. I haven't really seen him win any belts whatsoever. I've just seen him basically fight in big fights and lose. Like, he always fights in big fights and lose. And not really feeling that from Allen. But other than that, we got some other stuff coming up. We got my girl Stamp Fair Text coming up.
You want to leave her till the end, and maybe we'll.
Yeah, I'm gonna leave her to
we'll
the end, but I'm
her
just
till
saying
the
we
end
got
and-
her coming up. We got her coming up, and we're gonna cook on that a little bit later. I'm just speaking on, you know what I'm saying, what we got going on. You know, I'm my girl, I love my Stamp Fair Text,
you're
man.
excited.
You
want to talk about it? Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, but yeah, we got a lot of stuff coming up, and can't wait to see it, man. Sarge, what to do with the folk, man?
Basically, if we're getting into it, we had a lot of fights this weekend. Not even just the ONE FC like you were talking about. We had a kind of a massive amount. We had KSW 58, in which we saw Kalecki defeat the Zawada by decision. In that fight and in a couple of these other banners, I think that it's important to watch them just because of the fact that, you know, we might see some of these guys from these different types of circuits, like such as even people on the ONE promotions and stuff like that. Not to say we didn't watch the rest of the promotions. The only kind of fight that we found notable to comment on was the Ngani against Rug fight. So I think that's a pretty good point. But like, there's always going to be people around all these different types of cards. Like, as far as even like looking at these guys, like some of them at the end of their career, some guys just coming up in their careers, guys looking to get belts, guys looking to be trying to be impressive and stuff like that. In the Zawada fight, he was basically just taken down, held down the entire time, ground and pounded. Nothing too impressive, but still, with guys that are that big, being able to take the other man down and hold him down, you definitely get props for that. As far as the next fight, which was the Pranas fight, that fight was actually a pretty good fight because of the fact that I think there was dog money on the winner, but I'm not even 100% sure. Torres might have been the favorite, but still a pretty brutal fight. Good fight to watch. Like I said, a lot of these guys could be making that step to the upper circuit, could get the call at any point in time, and kind of like what we're going to talk about later with one of the guys that we're going to see in this upcoming weekend's UFC card. As far as looking down the line even further, we had an ex-MMA card over the weekend, headlined by James Vick. I mean, these are guys, and we're gonna talk about it later. Certain guys, maybe at certain points in their career, don't know when to hang it up, whether it's for skill wise or heart wise. They have too much heart. We know that because they're already fighters, right? But at the same time, there is certain guys that we maybe see throughout MMA that should hang it up. But as far as looking at this card, and if we go through it, there was actually 3 fighters all the way leading up to the main event. The 3 fights leading up to, including the main event, all included an ex-UFC fighter. So I mean, they are kind of living up to the X in their name. It does sound somewhat like a porn site, or like some sort of I don't even want to get into it. But as far as the first fight, we saw Kyle Crash Bochniak, who was once in the UFC, get defeated by Carlo Gallo via decision. In that fight, I mean, it was kind of a close fight at one point in time, but the Brazilian was just kind of able to get it done and pull it out over Bochniak. As far as the next fight goes down the line, we saw Francisco Rivera Jr., who had just previously had his last fight in the UFC, and then just had a 5-year layoff. I believe it was for, I don't know if it was a retirement, then a coming out of retirement, but he was able to actually get an impressive knockout at the end of round 1. So I mean, some of these guys, like, they might even be making that path back to the UFC at a certain point. As far as the main event, like I was saying, headlining the card, we had Andre Fiallo taking on James Vick, the Vixecutioner, the Texecutioner, sorry, should I say? I like to call him the Vixecutioner, but I mean, I don't know if we're going to be calling his name that much more with him getting knocked out like this. I mean, he was basically, in the first round, you could have said he won it. I think in the second round, I would have said maybe in the second round, he ended up probably getting caught. He ended up getting caught in that second round, and he was kind of stumbling around. He was doing a good job surviving on his feet, able to kind of roll around the cage, kind of crashing off the cage, kind of putting his hands up a little bit, but he was getting rocked with some significant shots, and the referee had to step in and stop that fight. As far as those kind of fights go, like I said, just to kind of sum it up, we could always see people as far as down the line, we could always see people that are coming from these different organizations, these feeder leagues, these leagues that are in different countries and stuff like that. We could always see them coming to the UFC, and we consistently do. And that's kind of where a lot of these champions are coming from different organizations, from smaller countries, places that maybe we haven't had in the UFC, but you know what I mean? Like we haven't seen their level of skill, their level of fitness, their level of training. So as far as the news kind of portion we're going to get into right off the bat, and this is kind of a question I kind of want to ask Boone about this, because I think there's some good points behind it. So after following the Chiesa fight that Neil Magny was just in, I believe it was on the Wednesday, like it was probably almost 2 weeks ago now or something like that, maybe a little bit more, as far as we are close to the next card. But I mean, like, we saw a tweet in which there was kind of some back and forth between the two of them. It was kind of a weird, you can see it here. Chimaev kind of tags Magny, puts a paddle, and then a kind of like you got spanked, and then a laughing face, and then congratulated Chiesa, and then obviously Magny snapped right back at him. But you can see like these posts, like he left it, like Magny let it marinate. Like there's the rip back right on February 1st, right? But this is a guy who's been pretty much fast tracked to the UFC, and if he beats Leon Edwards, a guy like Khamzat Chimaev, he's probably going to get a title shot. You know what I mean? So, I mean, I know there's that whole sense, and there's this kind of been this, this fast tracking for him, but they kind of had a further back and forth where Magny was saying, I don't hand pick opponents like you. I fought the best guys in the UFC for 8 years, something you know nothing about. So make sure you keep that same energy when you see me in person. I'll give you my word. I'm slapping you on sight and teaching you some respect. So Magny has pretty much checked Chimaev, right? Like, and someone needs to do it physically, because I feel like he has been a little bit fast tracked, and he's taken shots at guys that have been in the UFC, that have been competitive, that have been guys that have been dependable for the UFC for 8 fucking years. You know what I mean? Like I mean, you can laugh at people all you want because their wrestling ability wasn't up to par against another guys, right? But come on, man. And maybe like it's I don't know. In my eyes, I'm okay with Magny chopping back and actually trying to say something like that and put a statement like that behind it. That's my opinion on it.
To me, he held his own against Chiesa. The only thing I think he didn't fight smart as far as trying to wrestle with a dude that's actually beating you at that game. That was the only thing I had a gripe with as far as Magny in that fight. But for somebody who has pretty much had the career that old boy has had thus far, and to be trying to talk shit, and it's like, bro, you know what I'm saying? I mean, I only reason why I give Michael Chandler the same gripe, because I feel somewhat the same way about Chandler in some instance, but not in the same way towards old boy the way he is towards Magny. I'm not really okay with that, because I mean, Magny is a respectable fighter. You got to give him his props. He's proven himself over and over again, in my personal opinion. Really can't take nothing away from him. And I mean, I feel like I don't want none of that hand-picked opponent bullshit going on in MMA like it is in boxing. I think that should not trickle over. I like the fight mano and mano. You fight the best no matter who it is, where it is, and may the best man win, regardless of whoever have a good night, whoever have a bad night, just have a fucking bad night. Yeah. But I still want to see old boy Chimaev fight more for top competition, man. I mean, I haven't seen him really fight too many top guys. I mean, let me know if you have seen some top opposition. Consistent.
No, like I think that here we go. Here he's going to get tested with a guy that's even, you could even make kind of, and I'm sure there will be leading up to this fight, right? People are going to be picking Chimaev. I know I might even be, but I don't think I will. But at the same time, like when you're thinking about it, like you're thinking about a guy with the inactivity of Leon Edwards, who hasn't fought in a little bit, you know what I mean? And then you factor that in, and you go, Chimaev's been pretty much fast tracked. He's had a couple fights, you know what I mean? Pretty quick. So, and he's ran through a bunch of these guys. So, you know what I mean? Like you kind of look around and you go, you start weighing the odds, and you go, oh man, maybe this, maybe that. You don't really know. So, I mean, like at the same time, I think I'm going to get back to the point here for me. I think Neil Magny was right to check him. I think checking him and putting him in place and at least putting some sort of threat behind it like that, even if he's not going to do it, because they probably won't see each other, is valid. Because I've heard shit like this before with Chimaev and guys like Kevin Holland. And Chimaev was talking to Kevin Holland, or you know what he did? He actually he thought I don't know if it was arrogance. He thought Kevin Holland, which it's almost impossible because of just how large he is in stature. You know what I mean? And he just looks athletic, right? And he thought that he was some sort of a worker at the hotel when he was fighting there. And I think he said something to him or something like that. And obviously knew, and then later went to go fist bump with him. But Kevin Holland said all of his security was around and stuff like that, and blah, 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 blah. So, I mean, this isn't, and it's not the first time we've seen Chimaev poking fun and, poking at other people, trying to instigate a little bit. So, I mean, there's that, right? Like, there's that. We'll give him that for then. I mean, exactly, though. Like, and there is some good points, right? Like I'm even pretty sure he like they're even saying like Magny was saying that he might have even turned that fight down, right? So it's like it's this bullshit cycle that I think that he's trying to keep on with this, pecking at certain guys before he gets his fight. He knows that it's part of the game too. I mean, he's a good fighter. We've seen he's definitely skilled. He's got power. He's got ability. So he's got that strength too. So I mean, we will. We'll see. So the next kind of news topic I want to touch on is Abu Azaitar suspended 7 months by USADA for tamoxifen. I mean, I don't want to start creating a conspiracy theory because I don't want to. But his brother was the one that was just suspended for sneaking someone in with that bag. Remember? On the Fight Island, they kicked him out of the UFC.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Crazy. It's just so weird. You know what I mean? It's like tamoxifen, obviously being an anti-estrogen blocker. You take that when you're taking steroids or when you're running something like you're running some gear or some shit. I don't know exactly. As far as the third kind of announcement, because we touched on it last show and I wasn't sure about it. I wasn't sure when I said it, and I don't want to put out false narratives. Dan Hooker is now coming out and saying that he is not retiring. It was kind of, him putting the gloves on the canvas was kind of, a frustration move. You know what I mean? So I get it, right? Like it's not like, I'm not super surprised at that happening because of the heart of Chandler and stuff like that. And I'm sure the initial shock and the initial, he had been, really hyped up to beat this guy. You know what I mean? To really check this guy as far as where he is, as far as entering the UFC and stuff like that. And didn't end up going his way. So I didn't want him to retire. I didn't hope he did either. So I'm glad he's not. I'm glad he's just kind of pissed off. I'm sure he's enjoying his stay with his family, or as much as he can enjoy his stay with his family in Abu Dhabi while he is there. And yeah, I mean, that's that point as far as Hooker. Are you happy that he's probably retired as well?
I didn't think it should have been. Well? I honestly didn't like the fact that retirement was even brought up for Dan Hooker. Mm-hmm. I mean, I get it. You know what I'm saying? You want to kind of say, oh, was he going to retire because he threw the gloves down? Because he wasn't the only person that was saying that. It was I've seen that from a few articles saying like, was Dan Hooker going to retire? Is this it for Dan Hooker? And it's like, why would y'all say that? Like y'all saying it's more over for Dan Hooker than Matt Brown. I don't follow that. That don't make sense to me. You know what I mean? So I mean, I honestly feel like Matt Brown is a motherfucker that should be like, I'm good, I'm cool, but he's out here talking about he still got some gas in the tank, and I'm.
No, that's a perfect that's a perfect segue into that because I have that clipped. Right. So, and here's the funny part about this. And I know you guys probably can't read the fine lines into it, but if you can read the second bold down towards the bottom of the screen, that's him. That's another article with him questioning the judging and bashing the judging in his fight against Carlos Condit. So, well, okay. The whole thing with me is like, that bugs me. It's not even because I love Matt Brown and I've always been a fan of Matt Brown. I was a fan of him when he was on The Ultimate Fighter and everything, and he's been through the ringer as a fighter as far as one of these seasoned UFC veterans. I kind of said it after the Condit fight. I said it before the fight as well. I said one of these guys is the loser, either retires or we give them another fight in which both guys retire after. You know,
this motherfucker not trying to hang shit up.
Yeah. I hear what you're saying, and it's hurting him. So it's something I don't want to see happen. I want to see Matt Brown probably retire at this point, but like he says, he thinks he has a lot more in him. He's still making this run. He's already retired once before in his career, and it's been 2 years since that. So
where?
Shots fired! Shots fired!
Where? What? Where? Where do you see Matt Brown got some? Matt? Where, Matt? Where do you have it at, Matt? Where? Y'all tell me. I don't see it.
I don't see it either. That's the whole problem. That's the whole thing, man. Like, I think that a guy like Matt Brown, I think, like I was saying, we need to either give him one now if he really does want another one, maybe, but like an easier one might just feed a guy's ego like that, right? Think about that. But what do we want to do? We want to get that guy hurt. So now the UFC faces a problem, right? Like I don't know. They're probably not looking at Matt Brown as one of those problem guys, but we just want to look out for these guys as far as fighters and as far as people that we like. You know what I mean? It's just, it goes back to just, we're all people at the end of the day. And these are guys that we become fans of, not only as fans of their art and, you know what I mean, is in what they do in the octagon, but what they do outside of the octagon and who they are as people. You know what I mean? I think that goes a long way. So we got to, at the same time, we got to try and at least put our message out there and say, you know what, Matt, we care about you. And we don't want to see you doing anything that, you know, that's going to get you hurt. And like I was saying, it could be something that the UFC, if they give you a step-up fight, is that going to make you want more? Because a guy like you has so much heart that he's going to want more. You know what I mean? So it begs to ask that question. So I think that maybe, like, you gotta either, I don't know, right? Like it's one of those questions I don't have the answer to. But hopefully, I don't know.
I think the man should retire. Hang him up, hang the gloves up. Matt Brown can't beat none of them young, hungry lions that want to come up in the UFC. Pick one. Pick one of them young, hungry lions that wants to make a claim and a statement in the UFC that Matt Brown could possibly actually beat. Not make a fight, no, beat. He can beat them.
I don't have the answer to that because of just even what we saw in the last fight. It's like, and you know what worries me the most, point, like I put up in the article that was highlighted at the bottom, it's him saying, well, hey, I think the judging in that Condit fight was bullshit. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, we all watched the fight. I watched that fight live with you. I watched that fight live with you. Remember? We watched that fight. We called that live here on your channel, people. And like, I don't know. Weird, right? Like, it's like, I don't even know how you can make a statement like that, but I mean, it's like when you start questioning judging, like I said, and then you're going, I'm not retiring and stuff. That's kind of when I worry about the hard nose and the heart of a guy like that being a little bit too much. But he's already, like I said, if he's already retired once, he should at least know when he's not in it, right? But like, that's the whole problem, right? Sometimes your head's in it and your head wants you to keep going. The body can't keep going at a certain point, right?
He did not look like MMA version of B-Hop. Okay, he didn't look like he was giving Condit problems. Condit actually showed levels in his ground game.
Yeah, I know.
You know what I mean? Everybody was talking about how Matt Brown was going to do all this to Condit against the cage and do all this on the ground. The Condit was like, yeah, fuck y'all. And next, I'm done with Matt Brown. Chew his ass out all night long.
I'm not gonna put it that way. I ain't gonna chew him out. I'm just gonna say, hey Matt, just think about it, man. Just think about it.
Stop. Think about it.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so we'll kind of get back into this topic. We touched a little bit on it last week, but it kind of all gets a little bit of speculation, and we get a little bit of clarity through some of these fighters doing these media days. You know what I mean? So we've seen a guy in the last week. We've seen a bunch of guys do interviews. We've seen Dustin Poirier do an interview, long ones, 30 plus minutes with like guys like Ariel Helwani. We've seen Michael Chandler do interviews with guys like Ariel Helwani. So I think in the Chandler interview, we actually got a lot of insight because we got like, obviously him kind of speaking about how he feels now. You know what I mean? And that's kind of obvious. He feels amazing, right? Like anyone would, right? But he knows a lot of people were doubting him, and he's saying even in this last week, he's getting a lot more appreciation than he ever was in his whole career. You know what I mean? That just maybe like the early butterflies and stuff like that, still coming off of the knockout. You know what I mean? But as far as he's also kind of talking about this borrowed time mentality. That's kind of what he's been saying. He's kind of been like, I'm on borrowed time here. Like, we're going to make these fights happen. I'm going to jump up, make these fights happen, and get this belt kind of deal. As far as from what I watched of it, I think that he knows that he's not the next guy in line right away for a title shot. He knows that. You know what I mean? He knows, he's been talking about it. He keeps talking about it. He wants clarity in the division and stuff like that. And he wants things to be, you know, a lot smoother as far as him getting it. He doesn't want it controversial, him getting it right away. But I'm sure if they gave it to him, he's going to say yes, right? But at the same time, right, he did give his opinion on as far as other fights go, and as far as if they should rematch, or who Poirier should kind of fight, and that whole deal. As far as another thing that he revealed, which was the most kind of telling thing, was that he got a call not too long before after his fight from the UFC, obviously from Dana, one of the matchmakers, offering him to fight on UFC 258, which is like about 11 days from now. Obviously that could have been, you know what I mean? We could have got that call a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago now, right? Obviously, and just gotten ready for that. But as far as, because he didn't get touched in the fight, right? He ran through the fight, right? So obviously when they see a guy like that right away, they're going, oh, when can we put you back out there? When do you want to go again, right? You just cracked a guy and you literally barely got even hit. So when do you want to go again? But as far as, apparently, here's the interesting part. They apparently said yes to a fight. He didn't give the name of the guy, but the guy was ranked ahead of him, right? And it was probably we have to do, if you do speculation and you kind of look at it and you look at numbers and names and who it could have been, it's got to be a Charles Oliveira. You know what I mean? It's got to be Charles Oliveira. So he's kind of making the statement that it was Charles, like kind of subconsciously, you know what I mean? And he's like, he was kind of saying that Oliveira turned it down because of it being on short notice. And so, you know what I have to say about that? I actually kind of take Oliveira's side in saying that I wouldn't want a short notice fight either. You know what I mean? Especially against a guy like Michael Chandler. But at the same time, when you're as high as a position as you are in the UFC and you've built back up to that spot like Oliveira and you've been on this run, why would you test it with a short notice fight? You know what I mean? It can always be about legend, but you know what? Go get your shot at the belt, especially if they're naming you as one of those guys that's going to get that shot, right?
Right.
Like if they're already naming him as the guy that's going to go fight Poirier, like that's pretty huge right there. As far as maybe we just leave it the way it is, right?
Right. Keep it simple. Keep it where it's going, because the way it's going is, in a sense, going in my favor. Mm-hmm. So why go against it if it's going in my favor? Makes sense to me.
Mm-hmm. I hear exactly what you're saying.
Shoot. We can get to the next segue, man. You know what I'm saying? Keep it pushing.
Yeah, man. As far as you keep going through this, and we kind of the other thing that comes out in that interview is Chandler did call for the Gaethje fight, and now we've kind of had some kind of comeback from Gaethje's manager Abdulaziz, that he is saying that Gaethje is more than willing to take that fight. So that kind of does sound like at the end of the day, this is going to be a pretty good fight. You know what I mean? Like, that fight for me is like one of the fights that I called for. I'll take a Chandler versus Gaethje. So I mean, like that.
But sorry? isn't Gaethje supposed to be? The thing is, but Gaethje's supposed to be fighting Poirier. Poirier is pulling for the Gaethje fight more than anything. That's what I'm seeing via reports, that's what's being pushed is Poirier Gaethje. So if that's what's being pushed via reports, why is we talking about a Gaethje Chandler fight being more probable to happen, but Poirier is and Gaethje is what's making headlines right now?
And this is definitely for different sources and stuff like that. But like I said, I've seen a lot of talks, especially after the interview, about him calling out Gaethje, and then I've seen responses from the manager who makes the fights for Justin Gaethje, talking about, having some fights.
Mm. Who do you rather see him fight, Poirier or Chandler next? I want to see him fight Poirier. I don't really care about him fighting Chandler right now.
Really?
Poirier.
You don't want to see Charles Oliveira get the shot? I think he's more deserving than Gaethje.
He is more deserving of the shot.
You need to give it to him. And then the only other thing that they're gonna do is try and fuck Poirier because they the reality is they obviously thought McGregor was gonna win. Or Uncle Dana probably did. Yeah.
Everybody thought that he was supposed to win that, but nope, he foiled some plans, and it's like it kind of like threw some ripples in the game because it's like everybody's like, okay, now what? Like, what Conor gonna do is because Conor, look, man, stop saying Conor McGregor is washed. Okay,
I didn't say that.
I mean, I'm not saying you said,
yeah,
but I'm hearing a lot of people saying that Conor. Stop saying that. Stop it. He still got it. Don't nobody want to feel that left hand like that. Still, it's just kind of get off your front foot so much. You heavy on the front foot. They're going to calf kick the shit out of you all night long. Get off your front foot. Move around a little bit. Learn when to pick your shots now because everybody know your style. It's like once everybody know what you're going to do, it's the same thing I tell everybody all the time. Once they got a game plan for how you going to fight, what you're going to do, what to avoid, what to look for, it's a different situation. Now, Conor, they know about your left hand now. Now they know, and they know that's what you're looking for. They know that's what you want. So they taking everything else that you're giving them, and what you're giving them, Conor, is that calf kick. You're giving them that. You're giving them that front leg because you need full leverage, boom, because you know that left hand is dynamite. But after a while, bro, everybody you gonna have people, and then you got people like Khabib that's not finna stand there and just let you measure.
Mm-hmm.
Not gonna let you measure like that. They're gonna go in and go for the takedown. Same thing I think will happen if he fought Chandler. I think Conor McGregor and Michael Chandler is a bad matchup for Conor McGregor, just on the fact that Chandler is a great wrestler and he's not gonna sit there and let McGregor measure like that. He's just gonna go in for the shoot and take down.
And ground and pound the shit out of him.
Mm-hmm.
We see possibly like a Chad Money Mendez, Conor McGregor rematch type deal if Chandler fights him. Ooh, imagine a fight like that. Holy shit. Now that would be something crazy. I mean, if you guys haven't seen that fight, that's a fucking good fight. Like I said, I don't hate Conor McGregor.
Yeah.
But that was a great fight. That was a great fight.
Was a great fight.
Man, I think that I totally agree with you. I think that fight for Conor is terrible. If he was to fight Chandler, I think that he won't take that fight. I think he'd be smarter to do a Diaz rematch or something else like that and try and get a win that way, rather than take a fight against Chandler. That's just my opinion. But I mean, I don't know if he's gonna rematch Diaz. I don't know who in Conor's mind he wants to try and look to fight. But I think that there's a lot of different questions as far as when it kind of all comes down. And you know, I think that I don't know, man. It's definitely a what's what game. And like I said, me and Boone don't want to get in too much to the division because the rankings already came out and we had already covered them in our last show. We fully went through the entire the top 6 guys and where we thought they should be and why we thought they shouldn't be in some spots and where they should be in some other spots. We talked about matchups I gave pretty sure a matchup for probably every fight about which ones I thought that were for sure going to be on here. I'm getting some behind the scenes messages to definitely check some of the comments, but there's just too many and there's just too much meat. There's just too much meat on them, people. There'd be just too much dead air. People are talking about they need to schedule Gaethje versus Oliveira for the number 1 contender shot and fight against Poirier for the strap. Okay. I mean, I'm okay with that. I think that like I was saying kind of earlier, I think that we're going to give Poirier the strap. I think at this point we give him the strap. You're like, oh, wow, give him the strap. That's fucking crazy. We've seen it done before.
We've seen it done a couple times. But why did I go on the website and I'm still seeing they got Khabib as the champ, and he's still, it's like, bro, Dana.
We called it last week, though. Yeah,
we did talk about it. That's what I'm saying. It don't make sense. It's like what you gonna do? Khabib already saying he ain't talking about fighting nobody. It's already like in the win.
Mm-hmm.
It's nothing guaranteed. Everything is just in the damn win. So it's like strip him of the belt, give it to Dustin Poirier, make him champ because he the champ.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So I mean, and just let the chips fall what they may after that. Because what you gonna do? I mean, think about it. If Khabib don't fight by the summertime, you don't think you think he'll be stripped by the summertime?
No, like I said it last week. I think if he doesn't give some sort of definitive answer that literally says I am fucking out of here, blah 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 blah, done, like to Dana, and Dana finalizes it, I think that Dana's gonna wave it in front of his face as long as he can. Like I said that they may even wait till the second that they walk into the octagon with that contender fight or belt fight or whatever they're calling it to crown, you know what I mean, to say this fight's for the belt. You know what I mean? Khabib is stripped. This fight is not for a like a belt that's contending to fight the champion. Khabib is done. He's out of here.
I haven't seen an interim UFC champion in a long time. I haven't seen an interim champ in a minute.
And that's kind of because of the fact that, like I think that was a crazy stat last year. No champ in the last year, I think it was last year, did not lose. No champion lost a fight. I mean, you could say, oh, some of these people, but yeah, sometimes they all cycle in about once per year, right? You got to think about it. There's probably 4 women's divisions and 9 men, something like that, right? So like that's a crazy stat to look at right there. And I remember that they were posting that in the new year, saying that that's like a crazy fact to look back on it, and it is, because I think that it just shows some of the champions they got in the UFC right now are very good. But like you and me are always saying, there's people in other, and we're gonna kind of get to it. There's people in other places that can definitely pose a lot of threats to these people in the UFC. There is people out there, you know what I mean? They're not invisible, you know what I mean? As far as they're also talking about kind of a Tony Ferguson fight with Conor McGregor. So, and
because
I think a lot of people
off losses.
Yeah, and a lot of people in the chat are definitely talking about it right now. So, like, we're definitely going to entertain that. Like, what do you think about that, Boone? What do you think about Tony?
I said it would be a good fight to make, not because they both coming off losses. I was just saying it just stylistically, and I feel like that fight would sell. I'm sorry, that's my boxing brain thinking of selling fights, so excuse me. But that fight, I think it would sell. I think both guys would sell it. If Conor is Conor, not the new Conor. I'm talking about if Conor is Conor and Tony Ferguson is Tony Ferguson. I honestly believe that they could sell that fight by themselves. The trash talk that's gonna happen between them two, the face off. Oh my god!
Yeah. I think it would be great. I think it would be great.
The shit out of that. Dana gonna sell the shit out of that fight. I mean, they'll sell it by themselves, just on that alone. And I think stylistically, it'll be fireworks. I mean, just to see, you know what I mean, who's gonna catch who's gonna get who or whatnot. I think it would be fireworks. I would suck if they try to pull not wanting to have a fight like that without fans, because I ain't gonna lie, bro. A Tony Ferguson Conor McGregor fight with fans is gonna go crazy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Crazy.
Absolutely.
So it'll be something else if they make it and it don't happen and it doesn't have like fans or nothing like that. But
I hear what you're saying, man. I mean, like,
you think it will happen with fans or without fans? A fight of that magnitude?
I think that fight happens with or without fans if they announce it. I think it sells. I think we've just proven, like, I mean, Abu Dhabi did have some. I don't even know, like, I don't even remember how many fans it was. I don't even know if they counted a live. And someone in the comments can definitely type this. If they counted a live gate for the event. Like, I don't know. Was there a live gate? Like, did they bring in money from that event from selling tickets and stuff like that? I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, or is it just more at that point having people in there, right? Like, I don't know how much I know how much the tickets were ranging from, but I don't know how much the UFC had to spend on testing and making sure, like, I know all the people had to show up with a test and all that, but just precautions and shit like that. I don't know. Right? Like, I don't know if they brought in live gate, but like I said, they still tied last week. We said this, they still tied the second highest, or was it the third high? Yeah, the second highest of all time. They did 1.6 million buys or something like that. The second highest UFC event of all time or something like that. They tied it. They tied McGregor Diaz 2. They tied that with in buys. So it was Poirier, Conor 2, tied Nate, and Conor 2.
Conor is the money man in the UFC, man. He's the money man.
Yeah.
He just needs to win fights before they start using his name to sell, and then next thing you know is he gonna start talking about retiring because he's not winning fights, and they're using him to basically promote the sport and the brand and the push fighters to help them build their names and their profiles up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I would think that a super competitive matchup though is Tony and Connor though. You know, like I think that matchup, like right there off the bat, like is something that I would be interested in and something that I would probably like to. I would pay money to see. So let's make that fight happen. You know what I mean? Let's make that fight happen. As far as some COVID fights getting changed, we've had a couple rebooks on the card already this week and going into UFC 258. There's already been a lot, and there's going to be more. Trust me, people. Tune into my channel tomorrow, and I will be breaking down all the fights up to date as far as tomorrow goes. Who's fighting? Because 2 fights have already changed. We've already had 2 late replacements. We've had Martin Day come in on replacement, and we've unfortunately, man, I'm kind of mad. We had one of my dogs. My dog's already fell out of the fight. I'm not even going to say his name because I feel like then we're going to be looking at him in his next fight. But he fell out of the fight because of a false positive that they had, and then they tested him 3 more times, all negative. But in ruling with the UFC and their rule set, you have to wait 10 days. You have to take the 10 days to wait if you have even a false positive. Therefore, he can't fight. He can't fight on Saturday. So he's been pulled from that fight as well. I mean, I feel like I said, UFC's always doing a great job at this. They're stacking the cards now too, so they're even giving us more bang for our buck. They're giving us like 14 fights on these fight night cards, like consistently, and sometimes adding more. You know what I mean? They're always trying to keep like people on standby, ready to go, ready to fight. As far as this weekend in MMA, I'm gonna let Boone take this one away because I think he's been waiting a long second to talk about this one and kind of get into it, and it's gonna be quite a big card. I mean, as far as man. One goes, Boone,
keep that up for the folk. Keep that up for the folk.
I got the other one too. Look, I got this too.
Yeah, man, that's my girl Stamp. But we're gonna go to the main poster real quick, man. We got some good fights coming up, man, this weekend, man, with ONE FC, man. We got my girl Stamp Fairtex. You know, she headlining. You know what I mean? She going against Adriana. I can't pronounce her last name. I think it's Royshiana or something like that. But she's a Ukrainian. You know what I mean? And she's a grappler. Stamp Fairtex is a raw dog, stand-up guru. You know what I mean? I'll get to that in a second. But also the fight I really want to see that I'm really curious about is Shiyoko Sato and Fabrizio Andrade. That is a fight that you need to sit down and watch, people. Sato has pretty much come. He's more so of a grappler. He's coming off of I think a 3 to 5 win streak. Two by stoppage. 3 of them is by submission. Andrade is coming through just raw dog. He's new to the MMA game. He's coming from a striking background, stepping into the ONE circle, coming off of his win. He's had a debut where he won by submission. This guy's a striker. Coming from a striking background, won his MMA debut by a rear naked choke submission. So this fight is going to be fireworks because you got a guy who's mainly a grappler who can punch, who prefers to grapple but can punch, and you got a guy who can grapple but prefers to punch. So I feel like that fight is going to be fireworks. Haven't really done too much research on too many of the other fights, but mainly the Sato Andrade fight is going to be fireworks. Tune in. For real, that fight is going to be fireworks. Now I'm going to get to my girl, Stamp. The first two-time world champion in ONE championship. She won it in kickboxing rules and Muay Thai rules. All right. She's 5-0 in MMA. Nobody has stopped her in MMA whatsoever. All right. Now she's going against a woman from the Ukraine who pretty much is a grappling guru. This girl ain't no joke. She ain't no joke. That's something that I'm nervous about with my girl Stamp. This is a girl that you do not want to be on the ground with. As far if you are Stamp Fairtex. Stamp Fairtex is not a black belt in jiu-jitsu. She's not even a blue belt in jiu-jitsu as far as I'm concerned. I think she's like a yellow or something like that in jiu-jitsu. She's just now getting her bearings in jiu-jitsu. But this lady, Alanya, this woman is the lick when it comes to this ground game. She's all around wrestler. She doesn't have no Olympic prowess in wrestling, but she's up there as far as women is concerned in wrestling and jiu-jitsu skills. So her ground game is vicious. Where I would like to see this fight be is Stamp needs to keep this fight on the feet. She needs to keep it in the center of the circle. She does not need to keep this fight on the cage whatsoever. She should not smother her attacks at all. She needs to keep this woman at bay to avoid any type of takedowns or anything. Because if this fight goes to the ground, I'm gonna be nervous for my girl Stamp. If this fight goes to the ground, I am not gonna be happy if this fight goes to the ground. I do not see her being able to dominate or do anything on the ground with Alanya. I don't see it. I think Stamp needs to keep this fight on the feet because I feel like none of you women in one championship in MMA could see Stamp on her feet. None of y'all. Y'all better figure out how to get her on the ground and tap her the fuck out. None of y'all can see her on her feet. Period. Just want to be clear about that. But that's what we got going on this weekend, and also I want to get in, like you said, we got Mighty Mouse now. Got my boy Mighty Mouse. You know what I'm saying? So don't forget about my boy Mighty Mouse. We ain't gonna get into too much because we wanna it's not happening until April 7th. But I just want to let y'all know that we got Mighty Mouse fighting for the flyweight championship in ONE FC. And then we also got a boy Eddie Alvarez fighting for the lightweight title in ONE FC. And if Alvarez is to win this fight, he will be the only person to date to have won Bellator world title, UFC world title, and ONE FC world title. Hall of Fame career, Eddie. Hall of Fame career. Hall of Fame career. You muted, bro. You muted.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's why they call him the Underground King, man. That's the type of guy he is. That's why, because he's able to go through and kind of just make way in a lot of different divisions, a lot of different kind of fight styles, a lot of different fight organizations. As far as getting into this weekend, just kind of looking at it real quick, we're just gonna go over the co-main and the main event and give you guys our picks, and I'm going to give you the breakdown. And like I always say, if you want to get the rest of the breakdown for this entire card, you tune into my channel tomorrow live, because I'll be going live doing the entire card with the bets as well. We'll be talking about it, and we'll be discussing kind of where we're throwing the money this week. We're going to try and keep it going for like a 5th, 6th straight week of winning. So let's keep it going, people. As far as the co-main event, man, this is a
Frankie.
Oh man. Isn't this one exciting? What do you think? Like, I mean, I'll let you want me to give a full rundown on it first?
You give a rundown. I'm just Frankie's fight, man.
Man, this fight is gonna be crackers. I mean, I don't even like this fight for Frankie Edgar. It's a bantamweight bout at 135 pounds. We got Corey Sandhagen. Oh man, this is gonna be a fight. Like I said, 5'11", 70-inch reach. Frankie Edgar 5'6" with a 68-inch reach. Corey Sandhagen 6-1 in the UFC with a 13-2 MMA record. Edgar 18-8-1 in the UFC with a 24-8 MMA record. Sandhagen 5 knockouts, 3 subs. Edgar 7 knockouts, 4 subs. I don't think there's a lot to be said on Frankie Edgar. We all know who he is. We all know the kind of fighting style he brings, the kind of wrestling striking kind of style he brings. Once he gets those couple of takedowns, he's going to definitely be able to, kind of feint you with those takedowns and then continue to land shots on you in a pretty good manner. As far as Corey Sandhagen goes, man, he's a striker, and he's also able to, do some things on the ground. I mean, as far as what I'm going to get into in one of his past fights here, you may say that's not the thing. You may say, oh, well, no, but Corey Sandhagen is very developed on the ground. He's got, I think, a purple belt right now, and I know he might not have the wrestling style that Frankie Edgar has, especially with the frame that Corey Sandhagen has, but he's got the ability to know and threaten you with submissions when the time comes. As far as, we'll talk about Corey Sandhagen first. He's coming off that devastating knockout win over Marlon Moraes, and I don't know, Boone, you end up seeing that fight? Because that fight was crazy. I mean, that was Marlon Moraes even before he ended up going in and fighting Rob Font and getting knocked out. So I mean, there's more credit to Corey Sandhagen. I feel like he ended up basically just chopping at the legs from range, using his kind of his long stature to kind of keep Marlon Moraes at bay. Marlon Moraes was trying to kind of come in and land some of those hooks like he always does. He was landing a lot of good hooks and some shots to the body throughout the fight. He was feinting and stepping in with a good knee. And, with a length like that, I think that and with the ability, the reach that he has, especially with his long legs, he's able to kind of get in on a lot of guys like that. And he's probably going to look to use that same knee and probably a little bit of similar style that he used in that last fight against a guy like Frankie Edgar. Obviously wanting to keep him off, keep him at bay, and keep him at the end of his shots. He ended up setting up a beautiful, and like the whole fight, super calm, super poised, didn't do anything too erratic. Wasn't worried about a guy like Marlon Moraes, who's got that one touch power to turn you out. He wasn't too turn you off. He wasn't too worried about it. Set up a beautiful spinning wheel kick knockout and was able to take Marlon Moraes out in the start of the second round. As far as the Aljamain Sterling fight, that was a quick fight, only lasted about 30 seconds. One of my submissions of the year. Sterling was able to take him down very quickly. Put like a weird transition on him, put the body lock on him, triangle on him, and then he was able to go in for the rear naked choke, and he choked him fully unconscious. As far as the Sun Sao fight, that was the fight that his third fight that we're looking back on here. In that fight, we actually saw a lot of good things from Corey Sandhagen. We saw like when he's not able to when he's not pressured to take a guy out of the fight, and he's not like, he doesn't need to knock you out. We saw him with his ability able to just land a lot of shots from range, move his head well, avoid a lot of shots, hurt a Sun Sao with a lot of shots to the head and body. He was touching and feinting well, using his range. Honestly, he even got some takedowns while trying to defend from some other takedowns. He got taken down a couple of times at a certain point, but he was able to kind of work out of most of these positions. That is obviously where you get worried, right? Like in a Sterling fight, like you would have looked at that Sun Sao fight and said, well, if you get him down and you put a body triangle on him, there's a chance if you're big enough and you're strong enough with that body triangle, you might be able to choke him. And Sterling did his homework and went in there and executed that perfectly. As far as looking back on Frankie Edgar's just last three fights, he's coming off, and that fight was a UD win for Corey Sandhagen over Rafael Sun Sao. As far as Frankie Edgar's last three fights, we saw him take over and have a split decision win over Pedro Munoz, in which that was a brawl. That was pretty much a fight in which we didn't even see a lot of takedowns. We pretty much just saw both guys boxing in the pocket the whole time. Frankie came out looking out there to box, coming out there to brawl. He was actually eating some good shots. He was even catching him, countering really well, sticking him with a couple shots, cutting Munoz's eye. I think that basically in the entire fight, like if most people watch that, probably could agree it was pretty much a kickboxing fight. He did take a ton of leg kicks, and there was a lot of damage that you could see on that leg going into that fight, and that's a big sign coming into the Sandhagen fight, because we know that Corey Sandhagen might chop the leg once or twice, but he might be a little hesitant to do so as far as if he doesn't want to wrestle with him at all, right? Not even wanting to get on the ground, right? He may just keep him at the end of his punches, but we know Corey Sandhagen likes to kick. He likes to mix it up. He's very erratic in the way he throws his shots, so it's going to be a problem. As far as the Sang-Shung Zung fight, that's 2 fights for Frankie Edgar. He got knocked out. In that fight, he was pretty much just trying to keep moving the entire fight. He wasn't able to get that takedown that he pretty much needed, and he was clipped and rocked going in. And he was on his feet. He looked like he was trying to recover, but he wasn't able to recover quick enough, and he was dropped again quickly. As far as the Max Holloway fight, because that's still a very relevant fight. It was a UD loss. So he was able to go the distance with Max Holloway. Some people, argue, oh, Max Holloway's just a pit pat guy, that likes to touch you up. But in that fight, he did show a lot of good things. He was, like I said, able to stay in the fight. He was able to try and he pretty much got pieced up by Max Holloway. But that was kind of what we were expecting at this point in Frank Edgar's career, especially against going against a guy of Max Holloway's level. You know what I mean? But as far as it was kind of, we didn't see the best Frankie Edgar after that, during that fight. And I mean, he was only able to even score his first takedown in the third round. I mean, it's pretty much, in reality, we need to look at this fight as maybe a little bit of passing of the torch. I think that it's probably a hurdle being thrown at Corey Sandhagen. I feel like it's probably being put there to prove if he can finally deal with a little bit more upper echelon striker wrestler type style fighters, because we've seen him get taken down in 30 seconds and submitted, right? And no one wants to see that again, right? So and the UFC's obviously, they're thinking about that too, right? In a sense they are, right? We want to see him tested. We want to see what is going to be thrown at him when maybe we throw another hurdle at him, because instead of his last fight was a knockout, right? We throw a hurdle at him that's, him going in there and trying to, prevent a guy that's going to want to get the takedown, primarily look to score off the takedown. We want to put him in there against a guy like that. I think that honestly, Corey's probably ready to pass this massive test. I know that we know, and we can all agree, Frank Edgar is a legend. And throughout the past couple of years, we're probably seen him go through a lot of hard fight. We've seen him go through a lot of hard fights and kind of start to show his age a bit. Even though he did look stout in the Munoz win. I mean, like, Munoz, even a little bit of an older guy himself. I mean, like, it's not really the best leveling stick as far as looking at a guy like Frankie. I feel like the length and size of Sandhagen's going to be too much of a problem, especially with getting him down and stuff like that. Like, we know that Sandhagen's coming in there trying to prevent this takedown, trying to play well in this fight, and not get taken down and get scored on. So I think that he's going to just have the ability to land good solid shots, avoid. And throughout this fight, I think that he's probably going to end up piecing him up. I think that he's actually probably going to catch Frankie Edgar and get a finish.
Think he's going to finish Frankie too?
Yeah, I think he's going to finish Frankie. I think he is.
I think that's what's going to make Frankie retire. I think if he goes to a UD with Frankie, I think Frankie fights again. But if he stops Frankie, if he submits him, finishes him, I think Frankie retires. I think he actually hangs it up. But if it goes to if Frankie makes a fight of it and he makes Sandhagen really work and it's like a real Frankie Edgar, Sandhagen is just giving it to him and Frankie is like, "Hi, I got you, bitch. Is that all you got? What's that? What you have for lunch?" Mauling him on the cage, just light touching him, just typical, prototypical Frankie Edgar style type shit where this dude is battered, bruised, bloody, but he's still on you. He's still hitting you. He's still grabbing on you. Still holding you. Still wearing you down. Just a typical Frankie Edgar fight. If it goes down like that, I think he won't retire, and I think he can still do some things in the division if he fights that type of fight. You know what I mean? But if he gets stopped, if he get finished, or if he finishes the fight, but he just get his ass like some Holloway Cater shit, you know what I mean? Something like that.
Yeah, I hear you.
He'll retire. But if Frankie Edgar make a fight of that, and he really is, I don't know. How would Sandhagen mentally deal with somebody that he hit with his whole house? Fuck the kitchen sink. He hit this man with the whole house, the garage, the land, everything, and he still is in his face, battered and bloody. How is Sandhagen gonna deal with that?
Man, I think that's kind of where I'm looking into it too, in a whole perspective, is I think that's the problem. I think that Sandhagen's just that crafty enough of a I don't give a fuck type of guy. And I know that he's not going in there to make a statement. You know what I mean? He's not going in there to say, "Oh, well, look at what I can do," right? We just fucking spinning wheel kicked Marlon Moraes in the side of the fucking head and knocked him unconscious. You know what I mean? Just with it, beautiful. Like, if you haven't seen that, I'm going to send that to you after, Boone. Beautiful. You know what I mean? And just the whole time you're going to watch him. He's like Marlon Moraes. This is when Marlon Moraes is in peak prime Marlon Moraes stature. I think he was just coming off that loss to and he was to Cejudo, I think, and he was just like, he was still killer, right? Like, people were like, he's still killer, right? Like, he's not nobody, but at the same time, just able to not even overwhelm him with strikes. I think it's more so just picking the strikes perfectly. You know what I mean? And throwing them where he needs to throw them. He's not like one of those guys going to throw limited amount of strikes, but he's a guy that's throwing smart strikes, right? Like, so is he going to batter Frankie's lead leg a little bit? Yeah, probably. Is he going to keep Frankie on the edge of his punches? Probably. Is Frankie going to be able to score the takedown? That's the one thing that we're going to need to kind of get in and question, right? Because the thing is, you see a height differential. You know, I know the reach is only 2 inches, right? But the height differential is like 5 inches. You know what I mean? Like, that's a lot. Like, and then you start, if you probably go into, if we like pull up the photo right here, I'm not sure if it even has it. If it has leg reach on it. Yeah, I don't think it does. But as far as like if you get like stats like that, like leg reach and stuff like that, right? You get a guy that's able to tripod and stuff like that in a lot of these exchanges and kind of able to stay on his feet, and you're not as able as easy. It's not as easy for you to kind of slam him, pick him up, move him, put him down. You know what I mean? It's not as easy with a guy that's that long. I think that the big question is, can Sandhagen keep him off, and can he stay at distance with a lot of these shots and make this a fight that's dictated on his pace and on his terms. I think that he can. I think he'll find the right shots. Like I said, I think he'll find the right shots. I know that, could be like a UD, like where he just chins it out the whole time. But I just see Sandhagen having that relentless, calm, dangerous pressure where he's going to throw shots up that are really going to finish you. You know what I mean? That are really going to hurt you and really going to stop you in a fight like this. So I something about it, even in 3 rounds, I think that Sandhagen might have the ability to catch him with something. But I am picking Sandhagen in this fight for sure.
Got you.
And you're picking.
I'm picking Sandhagen. I think only because I just feel like Frankie is just too past his prime. I think he's gonna take a too much punishment. I think Sandhagen stops him. I think he stops him early. Second round. I don't think it's gonna go the distance. I just don't. I see Frankie, the first round being the fill out process, and Sandhagen is kind of catching him with little shit, and then once that second round starts, Sandhagen gonna open up on Frankie.
I hear what you're saying, man. That's when it gets dangerous, and that's when we like.
And it's just gonna be like, man, it's like, all right, bro, pass the torch. Great career, Frankie. Great Hall of Fame, all that, but Sandhagen retires Frankie Edgar.
Yeah. Okay. I like that. That's a good prediction. I know it's on pace with mine. I don't just like it because of that. I like that. There's just I think that there's that opening, like you were saying. I think there's that opening there that just, especially with the tentativeness of Sandhagen, he's not going to get overwhelmed, even though he's going in there with a legend. I think that he'll be able to put up the shots that he needs to put up and probably stop Frank Yeager. As far as this main event goes, this is a fight that's interesting, and not just because of the names, not just because of the stature. Like obviously, if you see this, you guys can see it's 5 versus 6. Overeem ranked at number 5, Volkov at number 6. They got it on the poster. They're putting it there for a reason, even though they put it so you couldn't fucking even see it. You know what I mean? They put it in font that you couldn't even see. But as far as this fight goes, this is kind of an interesting fight. Just before I get into it, it's interesting because of the fact that, and people can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it was supposed to be scheduled about 2 years ago now. They were already supposed to fight. And Volkov was already kind of looking on his way up to get a guy like Alistair Overeem on his resume. So, I mean, like, that's one of the things that kind of was interesting to me right off the bat. And it's definitely makes this fight a lot harder to pick, just because of the fact that I know that maybe it was a canceled bout, so they might have already even been training, prepping for each other, and or Volkov was definitely had him as a guy picked on his list on the way up of a guy he wanted to fight with a name. You know what I mean? Especially with a resume too. Reem is one of those guys that I don't think we can look down on as far as guys. I feel like just before even going into his last 3 fights, before even kind of bringing that up, if you look at his resume, and it's kind of one of those things that it's a little bit deceptive, because you see the loss against Jairzinho Rosenstruck. And I'm going to talk about that in a second, but that was kind of a little bit bullshitty. And some people can definitely let their opinions be known in the comment section. But I think that it's definitely questionable, that fight, because I think that it was stopped in the last 10 seconds, and I will talk about that. But if you don't include that, you've got a guy who's won 5 straight fights in a row, right? You've got a guy that's won 5 straight fights in a row. If you don't include that knockout that was in 10 seconds, like in the last 10 seconds of the fight, when I don't know if you remember this, Boone. The lip was split open like this.
Oh yeah. I remember that. Yeah.
He was winning the whole fight, I think. I think my scoring, I watched that fight back. I think he was winning that entire fight, in my opinion. You know what I mean? So,
And then get your lip split, and it's like
10. Well, the ref was like, so this is the thing that was kind of, and I'm going to talk about it right now. Here, I'll get into it. So this final bout that we're looking at here, and I mean, like, it's an exciting one. Like I said, like a lot of questions about it. Like I was said previously scheduled. Heavyweight bout at 265 pounds. We got Alistair Overeem, 6'4" with an 80-inch reach, taking on Alexander Volkov, 6'7" with an 80-inch reach as well. So these are a couple of giants getting in there, people. And we know Alistair Overeem. We know the kind of the performance he's put on throughout his career, not only in the UFC and in other organizations, in kickboxing. As far as Overeem goes, 12-7 in the UFC with a 47-18 record in MMA. 25 knockouts, 17 submissions. Alexander Volkov, 6-2 in the UFC, 32-8 in MMA, 21 knockouts, 3 submissions. So there's a lot of knockouts to go around here, people. Alistair Overeem, we'll start with him. He's coming off a knockout win over Augusto Sakai, in which, man, I'm not even gonna sugarcoat this shit. He looked really good in the Sakai fight. Like, and I've bet against. I'm a guy that's bet against Alistair Overeem the last 2 fights he's had. You know what I mean? Like, definitely in a row said, hey, I don't think that he's going to beat a guy like Augusto Sakai. You know what I mean? In that fight, it was kind of like a slow start with him. He was trying to like kind of pick and move, but pick his shots with like these blitzes that he comes in with. He was kind of trading exchanges a lot, kind of getting blitzed and then kind of blitzing back and stuff like that, kind of with Sakai. Sakai being a very high-level kickboxer himself and like being a younger guy, having that power behind him, we thought that we would see probably Overeem out a lot, but he was actually able to put that high guard up the whole time. He put that high guard up and he was able to block a lot of those shots. He took
a whole bunch of shit just with the high guard alone.
Yeah, and he took a lot of shots to the side of the head, like a couple, right? Like there was a big goose egg on the side of his head.
Yeah, I thought that was gonna be bad. I watched that fight after he talked to me about it. I thought that was gonna be bad for him. I was surprised that he was even able to get through that because he was taking some shit that I was like, bro, like usually he's either going down or he's dropping or he's getting stopped from shit like that, but he pushed through.
Exactly, man. Like that, I think it was a very telling fight for a guy like Alistair Overeem coming back in his career and trying to make that second shot like he's been talking about at the title. Like I said, he was countering pretty well in the fight, doing a lot of good clinch work actually when he was getting in close to Sakai, even though Sakai was hitting him with some good shots as well. There was Overeem kind of in this fight, because it was a 5-round fight. In that 3rd round, in that clinch, found a beautiful leg sweep against the fence. Just boom, right to the mat. You know what I mean? It was right down, Overeem right on top of him, and able to land a bunch of ground and pound, right instantly opening up a cut on Sakai's face. Bad spot too. It was pouring into his eye. You could tell it was bugging him. He was closing that eye. And then throughout the other 2 rounds, right? He only had 1:30 in that round. He did that much damage. He scored another takedown with 2 minutes to go in the 4th round, almost finishing him again with strikes. Like I thought it was going to be stopped in that round. I really did. And then took him down instantly in round 5 and did the exact same thing. Finished him in about 15 seconds into the 5th round. Elbows and punches on the ground. So I mean, it was a great performance from Alistair Overeem, like, you know, dealing with one of these hungry up and coming guys in Augusto Sakai. As far as the Walt Harris fight, knockout win in that fight. Overeem was walked down and dropped by Harris against the fence, and then mounted. But Overeem was actually able to survive and get back up to his feet in that fight. He then got taken down. So he then got a takedown because Harris kind of in that fight. Like obviously you smell blood, right? You smell blood and you knock a guy down, especially a guy who's, you know, we could call chinny in the past, right? Definitely the name the term chinny, and maybe a guy who's had too many of these kinds of fights has been associated with a guy like Alistair Overeem. And in that fight, he was able to, like I said, get a takedown. He was able to get some good ground and pound and almost able to finish. And then he was able to score a beautiful head kick and a huge right hand that was drop him. And he was able to pretty much give the ref no choice but to stop the fight. So I mean, it was very impressive from a guy like Overeem. I think that he was looking really hot in that fight, and like I said, he's been looking hot in the last 5 fights. You could make the argument, like in this fight, in the Jairzinho Rozenstruik fight, which they call the KO loss. Basically both guys, Rozenstruik was fighting a fight for Alistair Overeem, and the fight that you don't want to fight with Alistair Overeem is slow and letting him pick his shots. Alistair Overeem is like one of the top guys for percentages for strikes thrown or for significant strikes thrown and landed in the UFC. He sits at something around a 75% rate or something like that. It's some crazy number for a guy like Alistair Overeem to be landing and sitting shots from distance. You know what I mean? And then if he can take you down and hold you down, it's a whole different problem with Alistair Overeem.
Impressive. That's impressive to take somebody down, hold them there, keep them there. The same thing that Kane did to Allen in the ONE FC fight. He just kept them there. I mean, dude could not do nothing. It was beautiful wrestling prowess. What I've seen from wrestlers versus jiu-jitsu cats, a lot of jiu-jitsu cats from what I've seen in MMA, when they keep you down, they're keeping you down to try to get a submission. They're not keeping you down because they really want to pummel you or hit on you. They hitting you to set up the submission. I'm hitting you because I want to get that choke. I'm hitting you because I want that arm bar. I want that Kimura. That's really what I'm hitting you for. I'm really just trying to set up the submission. But wrestlers, no, I want to keep you on the ground because I just stay here. I just need to keep you right here. And once they get you in a position where they comfortable and they got you, and you can't really, the only way for you to get up, you're gonna have to eat some shit. Like, you ain't finna get up without taking a couple of little uppercuts, couple of straights, whatever. And that's what I'm noticing from wrestlers. And I've seen that mainly with Khabib. I've seen Chandler do it. I've even seen Ben Henderson do it. You know what I mean? Where they just keep you there and they just bop the whole time. And it's crazy that as a wrestler, I feel like that's not a good place to be with a guy like Alistair Overeem. If he got you and you, man, nah.
Exactly. So I think that, like I was saying, the Rozenstruik fight, and I'll just finish it off with this as far as covering Alistair Overeem's last 3 fights. That fight, I would say that he was playing into Overeem's game. Overeem was able to kind of have a lot of good, successful shots from the outside range, kind of control it. He was able to do a lot of clinch work in the second round. He tried for the takedown, but was unsuccessful. He was then able to get a takedown with about 2 minutes to go in the third, able to land that vicious Overeem ground and pound, kind of like what DT was just talking about. And he was able to drop Reem with a huge right hook. With less than 10 seconds to go, Rozenstruik was. And like I said, a little bit controversial. Stopped him, obviously split his lip open. Everyone's probably seen the highlights. And they ended up stopping that fight. The ref ended up waving off that fight. But, I mean, very, very close to call, especially with 10 seconds left in the fight. And a guy like Alistair Overeem, who was looking like he wasn't out, but definitely injured, right? You can see his lip split open like a piece of fruit. As far as Alexander Volkov, he's coming off a knockout win to Walt Harris, in which that he was picking range really well in that fight. He got clipped when he came in, but he was having those very good outside range, good leg kicks. He was able to hurt Walt Harris with a hard right hand, sending him right back to the fence. He was able to also get the whole entire time, beautiful push kicks to the solar plexus to keep him at bay, right? Like a long guy, 6'7", like I said. Not only do you have long arms, you probably got long legs too. You know what I mean? Even longer legs, right? He then hopped on for the finish. He was able to finish Walt Harris, I believe, in the second round. But that was a pretty explosive fight for Volkov as far as coming off a UD loss that he got to Curtis Blades, and this is a telling fight for us, right? Like Curtis Blades, what does he want to do? He's a guy that wants to go in there and take you down, right? Take you down, and like you said, bop, 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 bop the whole time. Keep you there. Bop, bop, bop. Oh, hey, you got up? Bop, 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 bop. We're going right back down, right? It doesn't even matter. So basically, he pretty much wasn't able to get any work done. He was just getting touched the entire time on the ground. He was taken right off the bat, couldn't make it back up. Volkov was able to score his own takedown in the fourth at one point and land a couple good strikes, even cut Blades at one point, but wasn't enough, right? You can't put up in a 5-round fight, you can't put up like a 1-round half effort and win the fight. He was then taken down again in the fifth and not able to get out of not able to get up. So I mean, like as far as the Greg Hardy fight, if you want to go back even that far, that fight a little bit different. We had Greg Hardy kind of more fresher into his UFC career, right? Obviously, this guy who kind of he actually showed a lot in that fight. But at the same time, that was a short notice fight for Greg Hardy, as I believe Volkov was supposed to fight JDS, and JDS ended up like pulling out some sort of injury in that fight. In the fight, we saw kind of a typical Volkov fight. Good leg kicks from range, good jabs, kind of slowly walking him down, not too much. We know that Hardy is he's a hard puncher, right? He kind of wants to get in there and land those power shots on you. At one point, Alexander Volkov, long guy, long legs, likes to throw a lot of kicks. Threw a kick. Greg Hardy checked it at the side of his head, broke his wrist. He then told his corner in that fight, I think it was the main event, he then told his corner, hey, listen, right hand is done. My right hand's done. He said, it's done. You can't use it. Like, we got to do something else. Give me another game plan, right? Obviously kept fighting through the entire fight and even was throwing that right hand. It was, I don't know what exactly ended up happening to it. I don't know if it was wrist, looked like a wrist injury. Volkov was just entering his range with good combos after and good kicks at that point. You're not able to use your power shots, right? Especially when you're a power puncher. It's kind of hard to win the fight. He was pretty much able to just to walk him down the entire fight. Greg Hardy having the heart and obviously the chin to stay in that fight. As far as this fight, it's going to be one of the ones we look back on, and I said this in the last one, but I mean it in this one. It's this is a passing of the torch to the new generation. People might say that they're trying to do this. You know what I mean? They're trying to put Volkov in this position to beat Alistair Overeem. I don't know. I mean, like you have a guy like Overeem saying he's made it public, right? He's saying time's running out. He's got only this one chance to make a run at the belt. He's put on the impressive win streak, like I talk about. You could argue that one wasn't even a stoppage with about 5 seconds left. As far as they're all coming off of KO wins, right? Like all of these other fights, right? They're all KO wins other than that one loss, including the one against Augusto Sakai, which was super impressive. I feel like we've been seeing Alistair employ his wrestling and ground game and some of these opponents who aren't able to work and do too well on the ground. I believe that that's going to be his plan implemented for the fight, because that's pretty much his only way at victory. Like, I know he can definitely strike with Volkov, but it's the movement and mobility of Volkov that I'm kind of worried about that's going to give Alistair problems. But as far as, I feel like mixing in some takedowns is going to let him win this fight. You know what I mean? Like we've seen in the Blades fight, this is the kind of the key to beating a guy like Alexander Volkov. I don't know, like it's we just haven't seen too much of Volkov on the ground. You know what I mean? When you're a guy that's going to let him stand up and strike with you, sure, you'll win the fight. Sure, right? If you want to stay at range with a guy that's 6'7" with 80-inch reach, you know what I mean? Yeah, okay, yeah. It's gonna be hard to beat that guy. You know what I mean? Gonna be hard to beat that guy, regardless of who you are. So I think that if we're seeing Alistair Overeem make this shot and talk about what he's trying to do here with this fight, and it's the smaller cage, man, and we're gonna see a lot of Alistair Overeem classic clinch game. I think we're gonna see a lot of what we saw in the Sakai fight, but I think we're gonna see the takedowns a little bit earlier in this fight. I don't see this as a passing of the torch fight. I'm picking Alistair Overeem to win by decision.
Overeem by decision. I'm going with Overeem just by default because, for one, I've only learned about his opponent through you and the research that I did watching him today, and based on what I watched and from what I know from Overeem and what I've seen from, I think he could pull it off. I feel like, but if he stays at bay. If he stays with that 6 foot, but I don't think Alistair gonna do that though. I don't think he's gonna do that. I don't think he's gonna try to go blow for blow with him. I think he's gonna break the distance, turn it into a brawl. I think gonna probably try to get him on the ground or keep him against the cage. I think he's just gonna keep it a close quarters. It's not gonna be too much space. That's a bad fight for Overeem if there's a lot of space between the two. Overeem needs to close the distance and keep it in close quarters, make it nasty, make it rugged, do some dirty boxing. I'm talking get your Randy go tour on in this bitch. And I feel like he fight that fight, he has a good chance of winning the fight via decision and possibly clipping him. I mean, Duke still out still punch. So I just say as long as he don't keep it, as long as it's not too much space, I say over it. Easy work.
Okay. Yep. I think we're pretty much on pace for that. If we want to give a second to the chat here and shout everybody out that's been around for the entire cast, man.
Awesome. Let's get back to the chat.
Anybody, hey, you got any questions now? Like, feel free to ask them.
Feel free to ask them.
We appreciate everybody for standing by. You know the way we're trying to do this a little bit more professional style and get to you guys at the end.
Jay Blues has something to say about Conor cutting weight. He said Conor hadn't cut weight in 2 years, 3 months. First time fighting in the morning, and I think he had bad weight cut as well. In my opinion, that wasn't 100% Conor.
Okay. I hear that. That could definitely be the deficit. That's why we always look at time off for these guys, right? It's always a question of, you go.
Talk MMA Live. What's up, Talk MMA Live? He said, I'd rather Conor fight Tony than Nate. He don't want that Nate smoke too much of a bad style matchup for Conor over 5 rounds. I don't know, man. I think Conor does really good in rematches. Something I have noticed about Conor, he does do well in rematches. He don't do bad. He usually tends to do better in the rematch than he does in the first fight. Aside from the Dustin Poirier fight, where Dustin Poirier was better in the rematch than he was in the first fight. But it's the fact that, I mean, Dustin Poirier was not drained. He was fresh, all that. But I think either fight is I wouldn't say a bad fight for Conor, but I would say it's a tough fight either way. Yep. Tony or Nate is still a tough fight. I mean, any fight that Conor McGregor has going forward is going to be a tough fight because any fight that he's in is going to be against a top 5, top 10 guy, regardless.
I hear exactly what you're saying, man. I totally agree with that. I think that not only is it like it's going to be entertaining, it's going to sell. I think that we kind of already touched on. I kind of look back on some bunch of these questions as kind of we were going. That's like, as far as we're going to try and keep it going, people, you can, if you keep the questions pertaining to the topic and we kind of see them throughout, if we're watching and they are good questions, we will kind of bring them up, right? Like we did kind of a little bit of that throughout. We're just not going to necessarily do the whole, hey, how's it going and all that stuff. But like now we're saluting you guys. We appreciate you guys for all showing out and hello to everybody. Thank you for coming in. Have I seen recent pictures of Volkov? He looks huge. Yeah, I have seen recent pictures of him. He does look big. I know, man. It could be definitely a Volkov passing of the torch fight, like I said. But I just don't see it happening, man. And it's like, this is I'm gonna definitely let it sit with me more tomorrow. Like I said, people, if you are interested in making some money, come check out my channel tomorrow. We're going live tomorrow night, probably around 8 o'clock Eastern time, 8:30 Eastern time. We're going to be breaking down the entire card, talking about some bets, and just trying to make some more money and trying to have another successful week in the UFC.
Yeah, got to get it, man. Got to get it.
It's huge, people. I mean, you guys, we always appreciate you guys. If there ain't any more questions, I will play the outro. I think we'll just play it as an intro and an outro if you guys.
Yeah, intro and outro, man. For real, man. Thank you guys for sliding in. I mean, like I said, man, like. I had a couple of people that slid through that wanted to sit on the panel. Combat Cannon is not an open panel. It's just basically MMA talk and news that me and MMA Best Surgeon give y'all every week. You know what I'm saying? We pretty much like y'all weekly MMA news and talk. We're not really here to have a whole drawn out full discussion about MMA per se. We just here to give y'all our take on what's going on. Tell you what's going on for one. And then give you our take on what we think about what's going on, what we think about the fights that just recently happened, what we think about fights is going on coming up. So that's what you come to the Cannon for that real MMA talk and news.
Absolutely, that's
what it is, man.
And man, I appreciate it. We always do. Like I said, tune in tomorrow, man. Full card prediction. and we're gonna do breakdown. We're gonna tune in. We're gonna do the bets with the card probably as well tomorrow, like we've been doing recently, because it's just been flowing that way. So if you guys would appreciate tuning in, man, I'm going to roll the outro, man. Peace.
Depot on the beat.